Welcome back to another piano lesson with Warren. My name is Warren McPherson if you're new to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at some tips and tricks you can do to easily beef up your chords. And by beefing up, I mean just to make them sound more pronounced, more modern, more professional, beefy, heavy, big. So I'm going to show you some easy tips. Even a beginner can start to implement these because they're sort of tendency, you know what I mean? Just like most people, when they're eating, they'll add a little salt, a little pepper to their food. Not a big deal, right? Just makes it taste a little bit better. So it's the same thing with these tips I'm going to show you. It's how you can just take your regular triads and by just adding these additional notes, even without thinking too much about the theory, makes your playing sound a lot better. So that's what we're going to look at today. Stay tuned, we're going to be right back. Welcome back, folks. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button and the notification bell yet, you want to go ahead and do that right now because we have weekly videos we've been doing for years. Lots to learn, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. There's something here to learn. We're all about teaching you how to play gospel piano by ear. So if you want to get better at that, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll be notified when we put out new material. All right. Today we're going to talk about how you can beef up your chords. And we're going to be working in the key of G today. Scale of G major. Right? And the diatonic chords for the key of G major. G major is the 1. A minor is the 2. B minor is the 3. C major is the 4. D major is the 5. E minor is the 6, and F sharp diminished is the 7. And so it's always good, especially as a beginner, to sort of just mentally go through those diatonic chords whenever you're working in a new key to reaffirm. Because a big part of playing by ear is understanding the number system, right? And knowing what your numeric relationship are to the different chords that you'll be playing in that key. So what we're going to take a look at today is a demonstration using the song Give Thanks. And I'm going to play it in its basic form and then talk about the different tones you can add to these chords to then beef them up easily. So if we go, give thanks with a grateful heart, give thanks, basic triads, to the Holy One, give thanks. For he has given Jesus Christ, his son. Basic triads, right? So what did I just play there? Play the 1 to the 5, to the 6, to the 3, to the 4, back to the 1, then to the flat 7, because F is not a part of the key of G, so we have to associate this note numerically based on its closest diatonic tone. So that would be the 7, F sharp, F would be the flat 7, and then to the 5. So that's the basic chord for that portion of Give Thanks. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, or the first tip I'm going to share with you, is that 100% of the time, whenever you play a major chord, go ahead and add the 9. You don't need to know the theory behind it in anything. All you need to know is that it sounds good. And the way I'm going to show you how to do it is if you're playing like this. This is a good position to learn, especially if you're a beginner learning triads. You want to avoid stuff like this, where you have a single note here and this here. That. And if you want to learn more about hand position and triads and being able to play those comfortably as a beginner, we have a great course over at pianolessonwithwarren.com that dives into that. So the 9 is basically the 9th note away from the root. So this is the root. This is the 9th note, or the 9th note away from the root, right, in the scale. Because we always have to take into account the scale we're in, right? So A. So what I'm going to do is simply put the A down here, and now I'm playing it with my thumb like that. It's a very common way of playing the chord. And now this simply G triad becomes a G add 9. See, just like that. And you see how it just make the chord sounds a little bit prettier, a little bit more fuller, beefier, right? The add 9. Now, as you know, in any major key, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chords are major chords, right? So the rule is, whenever you play a major chord, you can turn those into add 9. So when you play your G, you can do that. When you go to the C, you can do that. When you go to the D, you can do that. And you hear how a simple basic 1, 4, 5 now sounds just a little bit prettier and more professional sounding by adding the 9. That's it. There is no other theory behind it. That's all you got to do. Add the 9. And the 9 is always a whole step up from the root. Now, we talked about the 9 being a 9th note away, but you don't have to go that distance. You can play it an octave lower, which is right beside the root. Some people refer to it as the 2nd, but we call it the 9, right? Because you can't have, the reason why we call it the 9th, because we call the root the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th. And so then any other note we add beyond this will naturally be the 9, right? Because this is a triad, and then from here we start to add more tones. So that's a 9. You can add the add 9 to any chord you play. So if we go back and we go, give thanks with a grateful heart, right? Whew, sounds pretty. Now while we're at it, I can show you another way of playing this D major chord. Instead of playing it like that, you can put the chord in first inversion by simply moving your hand from the D and play the F sharp. And now you end up with, so now give thanks with a great. You get that nice first inversion add 9 chord. Another popular chord used in gospel, in modern pop songs, R&B. Good, so that's our first tip. Add the 9 to every major chord you play. You remember we talked about when we get to that major 7, when we get to that flat 7 chord? Give thanks to the Holy One. We go to the 4, give thanks. Here we go, add 9. For he has given, back to the 1, add 9. Jesus Christ. You can add a 9 there too. His son, add 9. And it doesn't matter which register you're playing in, you can still go ahead and add that 9. That's the first tip you can use to beef up your chord. The second one is you can add a 7th to every minor chord. Every time you play a minor chord, add the 7th. And so in the key of G, we know that the diatonic minors, or chord 3, chord 2 actually, chord 6, chord 3, and chord 6. So those are the 3 minor chords in the G major, right? A minor, B minor, and E minor. So we can turn all of those into 7th chord. And the way I like to play the 7th, the hand position I like to use is root, 5th, and 7 in the left hand. And then in the right hand, you can do the 3 and the 5, or you can just play a full A minor, a full triad, right? And you can use this hand position for all the chords. So move up, root, 5th, 7, triad. To the 6, root, 5th, 7. So it requires, you don't have to keep changing fingerings and hand position. It's a nice way of playing sort of a root position 7th chord, but make it sounds good. So then if we go back to the top of the song, give thanks with a grateful heart. Now, give thanks. So now I have a 7 to the Holy One. And look at that. Automatically the song starts to sound intermediate style playing, right? Give thanks. Add 9. For he is given. Now another way you can play that 1 chord, when you're in the middle of a song, whenever you're in the middle of a song and a 1 chord comes up, 99% of the time you can use that first inversion technique again. So instead of playing the G like that, move up the bass to the B, and then you get that. So in context, it sounds like this. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks To the Holy One, give thanks, for he is given. And you see how these chords sounds good? Jesus Christ, his son. So by just doing those two things, adding the 9 and adding the 7, adding the 9 to the major chord and adding the 7s to the minor chord, your playing went from beginner to intermediate, just like that. I didn't talk about passing chords and runs and licks and none of that stuff yet. By just simply following these tried and true addition of tones to the chord, right? Now I'm going to keep going. So from there, if you're already doing this and you say, sounds good, is there anything else I can do? What else you got for me today, Warren? Well, by extension, we can start to add the 9 to the major chord, to the minor chords as well. Now, adding 9s to minor chords gets a little bit tricky because it doesn't sound good all the time in every song. See, the first two techniques I gave you, adding the 7s and adding the 9s to major chord, works in any song, any case, all the time. I've yet to come across a song where I make that major chord add 9 or that minor chord 7 and it sounds funny. Can't recall playing a song like that. It's just, and so what I've called these over the years is tendency tones. I call them tendency tones because every player do them right off the bat across every genre of music. It's just the tendency. We just do it automatically. Adding the 9 to major chord, adding the 7 to minor chords. Now you can take it a little bit further, but this is where you're going to have to let your ears guide you and say, does adding the 9 to this minor chord sounds funny? If it does, remove it. A lot of the case, it's still possible. So now I'm going to add 9s to all my minor chords. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks. So now there are a few ways you can add this minor 9. You can add it as a cluster like this. So I'm still using my same left-hand position, root, 5th, 7. Now I'm doing 9, 3, 5. Sometimes I like to do that as well, where I just sounds pretty, right? So give thanks to the grateful heart. With a grateful heart, give thanks. Works, right? Now to the holy. Now here's a rule. You can add 9s to your minor chords, but when it comes to the 3 chord, that's the one you have to be very careful of. Why is that? There's no diatonic minor 9 as a 3 chord. So what do I mean by that? If I go to my 2, I can build a minor 9 using all diatonic tones of the G major scale. If I go to my 6, I can do the same thing. All diatonic tones of the G major scale. If I go to the 3, look what happens now. It's a minor 9, but now I'm playing C sharp, which doesn't belong to the key of G. It means you're adding a non-diatonic tone to the chord, and that alone can change the whole quality and sound of the chord. And this is what I meant when I say you have to let your ears guide you to say, does making the 3 minor 9, even though I'm adding a non-diatonic tone, does it mess with the song too much? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to just add tones to make the chords beefy and that's it. It all has to do in sort of working together to make the song sound better. The minute we start to take away from the song by using strange tones and chords, we're losing the battle of making the song sound good. So in this case, when I play the song, I don't make that 3 chord minor 9. The 9 just sounds, it sticks out too heavy for me. So give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the whole, see, whole, not working. So Holy One, give thanks, for he has given Jesus Christ, his son. So see how beautiful it sounds, right? Let's continue to the rest of the song. So, and now let weak say I am strong. See, minor 9 on that too. Let the poor say I am rich for what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks. Now I'm going to give you one more. And this one, if I would associate a percentage to it, I would say 80% of the times you can do this. And is you can play your 5 chord as a 4/5, then resolve to a 5. Sometimes you can just leave it as a 4/5. A lot of times you may need to resolve it to the 5. What I mean by that, 4/5. If you play a 5 bass in your left hand, play a 4 chord in your right hand, you get a 4/5. This chord is often referred to as D9, sus4, or sus2, sus4. You'll see all sorts of ways. The easiest way I like to think about it is a 4/5. So a 4 chord on top of the 5. Now you can take that literally and play a 5 chord in your left hand and a 4 in your right hand. It still sounds good, right? But because I said you oftentimes resolve it to the 5, which means this G resolve to an F sharp, that's why I often leave out the F sharp. And sometimes I just play the root as an octave or the root in the 5th. Then I can resolve this. So in this particular song, I'm doing that. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks for He has given, right? Jesus Christ, His Son. Here we go. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor, here we go again, say, I am rich for what the Lord has done for us. Here we go again. 4/5, resolving to the 5. Give thanks. Beautiful. So those are some ideas you can add to your chords right away. The first one, add the 9 to all major chord. The second one, add the 7th to all minor chord. The third one, add the 9 and the 7 to the minor chord, except for the 3, because that introduces a non-diatonic tone, which oftentimes can be too aggressive, right? And sometimes you can lose the melodic line and all that. And then the fourth one is to play your 5 chord as a 4/5, resolving to 5. Now, like I said, this one works a lot of the time, especially in gospel, but again, you have to use your ears. For this one, it's not a blanket, works all the time. Sometimes the song requires just a straight 5 chord, no delay, no suspension, 4/5 thing. A lot of the times, this can work. So with these 4 ideas, you can move your playing from beginner to intermediate right away. Now, it does require practicing before it becomes more intuitive. So all the songs that you've been working on and learning so far, start to do this, and your playing will start to sound more like the stuff you hear in recordings. That's it. And as you can see, you didn't have to learn any crazy theory or go read an entire chapter. It's just tendency tones, right? Now, for those of you who are a little bit more on the advanced side, let me just play the song as I normally would, using some of the more extended chords. These aren't tendencies. These requires a little bit more surgical approach because you have to change them from song to song, voice them differently from song to song. But this is a beautiful song that offers a lot of opportunities for passing chords and extension. And I just want to close out and show you that stuff. So if I go now, give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks for He has given Jesus Christ, His Son. And now say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich. For what the Lord has done for us, give thanks. So what am I doing there? So after I do my 1, my 5 in first inversion, I did a 3 as a secondary dominant passing to take me to 6. Look at the voicing, right? It's an altered dominant B7 sharp 9. I could even go sharp 9, sharp 5, right? To 6. That is a minor 9. One more time. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Here's another one. I can use this D13 as a passing to take me to 4. Secondary dominant passing again. And if you want to learn more about all these crazy passing chords, course, Piano Lesson with Warren has all this stuff broken down. I have a great course over there where I talk about the 7 steps, the gospel passing chords in C, where I cover 7 different types of passing chord, the theory and all that wonderful stuff. So that's where you can learn more about secondary dominant passing to 4. Give thanks. Now when I go to this 4, I can play it as a 13th, major 13th chord. So in context, give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks, for He has given Jesus Christ. When I go to this chord, I can extend it like that. Another 13th. His Son, then, and use this as a passing inverted dominant where we have the 7 in the bass and the triad in the right hand. And now, let the weak. You guys probably familiar with a little diminished passing from the E7 or right, F sharp diminish, G sharp diminish, to the 2, to the 5, let the poor say. Then you can go, I am rich. 2-5 passing, F sharp, the B altered. I'm rich, then I do. And this is just the reharm chord right here. So what I'm thinking is I'm treating this as a tritone substitution to go down to the 4, right? I'm rich for what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks. I know I just sort of mowed through that, because that, if I were to break down everything there slowly, the video would turn into a 2-hour video, and I kind of want to keep it short. But here's the thing, like I said, if you want to learn more about passing chords, in fact, if you want to learn more about everything that was explained in this video, Piano Lesson with Warren is a great place to be, right? This is me, and I run a wonderful membership program. This is something I started in 2017. And I thought since then, I've taught hundreds of students how to improve their gospel piano playing by ear. So head over to pianolessonwithwarren.com and check it out. Now, I also have another thing that I want to give to you free of cost. If you see me play all these chords, and if you find yourself sometime play some chords and you're not quite sure what you're playing, I have a free PDF that you can download. The link is in the description, titled The 7 Steps to Naming Any Chord. And in that PDF, I break down 7 steps. If you can remember these 7 steps, that's the method you use to figure out any chord you're playing, how to associate a name with it. And again, this is something even a beginner can start to chow down and make use of. 7 steps to naming any chord. The link to download that free PDF is in the description down below. Again, if you're new to the channel, you like this content, you like what we got going on over here, please remember to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you can be notified. You know, when you subscribe to the channel, that's how we get sort of, we garner more views, popularities, more ads run on the channel, and that's what helps me to continue to create these wonderful free content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified. And leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you think about this video. What would you like to see me do a tutorial on next? Because I'm sure there's a lot of things that you'd like to see, and I like to put out content that you want to see. So let me hear in the description down below, the comments down below, what you'd like to see. Until then, keep listening, keep singing, keep practicing, because this is how you continue to grow as a musician. And I'll see you next week for another tutorial. Bye for now.